So hi everyone, welcome to our home buying seminar directed to first-comers to Canada, newcomers to Canada. We're going to be speaking with Penny, and we'll hear about her later. And we're going to be answering questions that many newcomers to Canada have with respect to buying a home. So let's get started. I'm just going to go and give us some questions that we're going to answer during this webinar. So if you'll see here. So this is our home buying for newcomers to Canada. And our guest speaker today is Penny Yan, and Penny is from Mortgage Development Manager at National Bank of Canada. And we'll just talk a little about Penny and see why she's qualified to speak to us today on buying your first home as a newcomer to Canada. So Penny has 5 years of experience in the financial sector. She's achieved the highest award working with a national bank. And as a mortgage development manager, Penny's main focus is to help her clients get the best suitable mortgage financial situation. So Penny, it's really nice to have you. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us in this webinar today and agreeing to answer questions that many newcomers to Canada often have when they're navigating the home buying process and also trying to get a mortgage as well. So why don't we, so just a little about me. I'm Chi-Chi and I work with Granville Guardian Real Estate. I have over 10 years of real estate investment experience, and I have experience working with foreign buyers as well to navigate the home buying process. And I've also, in my spare time, written a real estate book that's on Amazon, and it's targeted for first-time home buyers. Page down. So what are you going to get out of this webinar today? That's a good question. So we're going to get answers to questions that many home buyers who are new to Canada have. And if you know someone who would appreciate watching this, please share this information with them. So grab a drink and a snack and let's get started. And we're going to have a sneak peek of some of the questions that we're going to answer in this webinar. One of them is, if I'm a newcomer to Canada, can I buy a home? Many newcomers to Canada do have that question. And then the next question they often have is, how do I know how much I can afford? And then we have a couple mortgage questions, and that's why we have Penny with us today to answer those questions for us. So Penny, we're going to direct attention to you now, and we're going to go ahead and ask you some of these questions that many of our home buyers often wonder, especially those who are new to Canada. So if I'm a newcomer to Canada, Penny, can I buy a home, first of all?
Yes, everybody in Canada, you can buy a home. But the thing is, if you can buy them in full in cash, you need a financing from the bank. So that's where you need a mortgage from. As a newcomer, yes, you will qualify a mortgage as well, as long as you have income.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the next question that home buyers have, sorry about that. So the next question they often have, knowing that they can buy a home, is how do they know how much they can afford?
So as a Canadian government guideline, we have a calculation which is see if the client will pass the GDS, which is gross debt ratio. Acronym is for the household expense, which is including your mortgage payment, your property tax, and your heat for monthly base. And the other calculation is as the acronym as TDS, which is total debt ratio. That will be including the household expense and plus your other debt payment together, and then see and divide by the income, see if you be qualified or not.
Okay, so what I'm getting, from this is that that you are going to look at two different ratios. One of it is the GDS, and another of it is the TDS.
That's right.
And so the gross debt service takes into account all of your household expenses, your monthly household expenses?
Yes, that's including only the mortgage payment and the property tax payment and the heat of the house.
Okay, and you're going to also look at another ratio that you discussed, which is the TDS, which is the total debt service ratio. What again is the difference then between the GDS and the TDS, so that just to simplify it for those who are listening?
So the TDS will be including the GDS plus your other debt monthly payment, like your car payment, your credit card payment, your student loan payment. So it's overall your debt ratio.
Okay. And if I'm new to Canada and I'm not aware of all of these things, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how then do my expenses play a role, and what should I be preparing for when I meet with someone like you, the mortgage expert?
So first, when we meet a client, one of the factors we have to do is do a credit check. So every Canadian will have your credit bureau report. On the report will show your most recent months. Everything you have will be involved with the credit, which is, have you used your credit card? Do you have a loan? Do you have a car payment? We'll be using the information from your credit report.
Okay, and oftentimes, as you have probably seen, newcomers to Canada, they wouldn't have much of a credit report. So what would they do in that scenario?
That's why as a national bank, we know the newcomer, you're brand new, your credit card brand new. That's why we have a special program. It's just designed for the newcomer, which is as long as you have 35% down payment with 1 year mortgage payment. We're not going to look at your GDS or TDS because we know you're brand new. Your income probably is not high enough to support the dream house you want to. But as long as you have the requirement we require, we're not going to look at the GDS or TDS.
Okay, so that's an excellent point for those who are watching who are newcomers to Canada, or those who know newcomers to Canada that have that question, is that there is something specifically for those who fall into that category, who may have new credit, or who may have just come to Canada, but they do have the finances to buy a home, right?
That's right.
Okay, so the third question we have for you, Penny, is what is a pre-approval? And this is a question that even those who aren't newcomers to Canada wonder as well.
So pre-approval, I think it's a very necessary step. It's good for the client and good for the realtor as well. So first, the client come to do a pre-approval, they know how much they can actually qualify for, and then they will go ahead to look at a house within their price range with a realtor. Otherwise, if they go to shop a house, yes, you want to shop a dream house, but at the end, your mortgage financing won't qualify. That will just make you very disappointed. But yes, if we turn around the case, we know how much you qualify for, and then we just shop within the range.
Good point. Such a good point. So again, it's very important for the pre-approval process to take place before you start shopping around for a home. And like Penny said, it's like, and I like the point you brought out, that it actually helps you to ensure that you're shopping for a home that you can afford. And it also saves you from being disappointed because you're now sticking to your budget. You may end up, it'll prevent you from maybe looking at a home that's outside of your affordability range. And then when it comes to pre-approval, you don't get pre-approved for it. So it could be pretty disappointing, right, Penny?
Exactly, especially right now that you must be seeing multiple offer on a house. So you have to know what is your maximum can afford on the house. Otherwise, you just go into a bidding war. By the end, you won't qualify for it.
Yeah. Thanks so much. So I guess the next natural question then is, how do I get pre-approved? So as a newcomer to Canada, I think it's important. I think many newcomers to Canada want to know that the steps that they need to take and the documentation that they need to prepare to get them through that pre-approval process.
So it's very simple. Go ahead, pick up your phone or go to National Bank website, nbc.ca. You can find a mortgage advisor, contact them, and then we'll be glad to have a meeting with you. So during the meeting, we love to client will bring their income document. If they're on salary, which is the most recent pay stub, and last year's T4 were NOA were T1 general. So that will be a support document shows what your income looks like. Can you afford a house? And the other thing we want to look at, do you have your down payment ready? Have you have enough to save your down payment? Or can we help you to save your down payment? What's the best strategy for you to get in the house sooner?
That's good. Thank you. Good points. Really, really good points. So I'm thinking as a newcomer to Canada, you may not have a T4, for example. How do you navigate that with home buyers that are new to Canada? What documentation can they?
We can ask for an employee letter. On the employee letter will be like describe how long the client been with the employer.
Okay.
And what's their salary, what's their position. So that will be demonstrating like how long they've been working for them.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. So now we're into the mortgage options. So many of, obviously you're new to Canada, you may not be aware of the array of mortgage options that are available to you. So what are the best mortgage options for a newcomer to Canada, keeping in mind their financial situation? So I guess the question is, what are the best mortgage options for me and my financial situation?
So every client, your situation is totally different. So we will actually make a custom mortgage plan just for you to actually suit which one is best for you, to find a perfect one for you. Because you cannot just say, oh, I heard my friend got this and my mom got this. Maybe that's not a best scenario for you. That's why we would like to run a custom plan. So it will be looks like this.
Okay.
I'll show everybody.
So what are we looking at? What are we looking at now, Penny?
We're looking at our custom mortgage plan.
Okay. So basically, you're going to prepare a custom mortgage plan for the client.
That's right. So the mortgage custom plan will ask you specific questions like how long do you want to have your mortgage for? Lots of people will heard the term as a 5-year fix. So everybody thinks 5-year fix might be suitable for me because I heard that a lot. But deep down, once again, it's and the study shows most of the clients, 65%, they won't stay in their first home for the 5 years. So if you didn't stay in the house, you want to sell the house, what happened within the 5 years? You had to face to the penalty. And the penalty, it's a lot. That's why we need to go through the custom mortgage plan to show client what's your goal for your mortgage and how can we achieve your goal.
Perfect. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so that's how that looks like. We'll ask you a question to see which one is best suitable for you.
Great. And I guess when you're meeting with the client, Penny, is it normally at your office or can you meet them, you know, in their home, or like how does that work? Like if they wanted to set up an appointment?
We definitely understand everybody have a busy schedule. Like I totally understand, like lots of clients say, well, where I'm working, you guys working, where I'm off, you guys off too. That's why as a mortgage development manager, we provide extra service, which is go after hours. We can meet you on the weekend, late or after work, your house, where the location you prefer to. So it's not limited to just the branch.
Perfect. That's excellent. So another question that many newcomers to Canada have is that question that has to do with the down payment.
Mm-hmm.
So the question then coming from a newcomer, how much do I have to have for a down payment and how much will I need? So that whole idea of what exactly is that down payment amount?
As a minimum as you can, you have to have at least 5% as down payment. But the thing is, if you have lower than 20% down payment, you will be have to pay a Canadian mortgage premium insurance, which is insurance just in case something happens for the fallback, you won't continue to make the payment. So that insurance will have a premium on top of the mortgage. That's why, but when it depends on how much you're gonna pay down.
Got it. Great. And is it, so I guess then, like you said, there's a premium for paying a 5% down payment, correct?
That's right.
And so I guess then what would you, well, I guess it would depend on the person's financial situation, but I was saying, what would you recommend for newcomers then who are coming to Canada?
Well, it all depends on your, just like you said, depends on your own situation. If you can afford to put down 20%, that's great, because you will be avoiding the insurance premium. But if you don't, we still can, adding the insurance on, help you to buy your dream house.
Perfect. So closing costs. Now, this is something that newcomers to Canada might not be aware of, that there are closing costs associated with the home buying process. I know you're in mortgages, but maybe you can just, from your experience dealing with newcomers, what would you like to give them in terms of advice when it comes to closing costs?
So for the closing costs, normally will be estimated as 1 to 1.5% of total your house value. So there's a bunch will be a bunch of fee will associate. Let me show you.
And thanks so much for sharing these slides, Penny. They're
You're
really
welcome.
helpful. Yeah.
Here. So this is the slide tells you how much will my house really cost. So you already made a big part, which is you purchase a house. And then there will be a appraisal fee. So the appraisal fee is for the bank have their own like estimate system. They will appraise how much you ask for it. Let's say you buy the house for $400,000 and then you ask for financing for $380,000, and then the bank system automatically estimate says that this house worth $400,000. If the system says no, we're not great for $400,000, so we have to manually send an appraiser to your house to appraise the house. So the appraisal normally is about $267, and then the other cost will be home inspection. I'm sure you buy a house, you want to know if your house is good or not.
Yes.
You will send your own home inspection, and then there will be land transfer tax, and there's a land registry fee, as you can see, and there's a legal fee and title insurance fee. So lump sum together, it's about 1 to 1.5% of your house value.
Oh, you've answered my next question, Penny. So I just wanted to give the listeners and the viewers an idea of how much they can expect to pay in terms of closing costs, and you're right, like 1 to 1.5% is usually the cost factor there. So actually, the slides that Penny has been sharing, if you want to get a hold of those slides, feel free to contact her or myself, and we can definitely give you a copy of the slides, eh, Penny?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so the final question I have for Penny, and of course we have more questions for her, so we'll be doing more of these for sure. But if somebody speaks a different language, they may be worried about sort of communicating these kinds of things in English. Do you have clients like that, and what do you normally do in that case?
In that case, because we're in Canada, we're a big culture country. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of my coworkers speak different language.
Good.
There's French, Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Italian, German, you name it, we have it.
Great, that's excellent. I'm sure that's comforting, especially when you're a new country and you're just trying to learn the language. So it's nice to know that you have mortgage experts that speak different languages that can communicate, if need be, in their own language. That's great. So that's pretty much it. We didn't want to cover too many questions, but again, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And Penny, I'm just going to share your contact information with people, just so if they want to reach you, they'll be able to reach you. And so just bear with me, and I'm just going to share my screen again and open up the slide. So we pretty much discussed whether it's okay to have a down payment of 5%, and then how much do I need to set aside for closing costs, and Penny answered that really well. And what happens if I speak a different language? No need to worry. Usually Penny and her team have people who speak different languages who can help you out in that regard. And actually, I wanted to cover this question as well, because many newcomers to Canada may have this question, and that's how much do I have to pay to the real estate agent I hire to help me with buying my home? And you actually do not have to, as a home buyer, you don't have to pay the buyer representative anything. So that's great. In many cases, the home seller is responsible for the real estate agent's compensation. So just to put it simply, without kind of making it overly complicated, the realtor is paid by the seller. So, you know, when a seller wants to sell their home, they'll go to a realtor and they will pay the realtor a commission in order to sell their home. So a portion of that will go to the person representing the buyer. So I just wanted to clear that up, because I know as a newcomer, you may think, oh, you know, I have to pay the agent helping me to buy my home. So if you have any questions, like I said, for Penny or for myself, please go ahead and ask us questions. I'm just going to share our contact information with you. So here's all my contact information. You can reach me by email, on my site. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me on Twitter, on Instagram. And for Penny, you can reach her by email. I've emailed her a couple of times, so I know she's very responsive to email, and also phone. Or you can find her on LinkedIn or message her on LinkedIn as well. So Penny, thank you so much for doing this for us today, and I hope you'll be able to join us again if you have other questions. I really enjoyed doing that with you and setting this up. So did you have anything else you wanted to say, Penny, with respect to working with clients that are new to Canada?
I'm sure, because you're new to Canada, it's a brand new country to you, and it's a brand new culture. That's why you might not think of the question you can think of, but once you start shopping a house with TG, once you find a question, let us know. We are always here for you.
All right. Thanks, Penny. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.